intake of vitamin C. And on that 5 milligrams per kilogram, 60% of these mice that genetically would have developed diabetes were prevented from developing diabetes. 5 milligrams per kilogram, with our current plants in this county, we have 4.5 milligrams of cannabidiol in a pound of cannabis. That means that a pound of cannabis, if you can extract 100% of it, would last you about 10 to 12 days for a 190-pound man, plus or minus depending on your body weight. There could be strains that could have 700% more CBD, which could make it easier to access. But what's important is when you say, okay, so a pound lasts me for 10 days, so I need 30 pounds a year to prevent diabetes. Is that good? Is that bad? We jump all over the potential financial illegal ramifications, but you got to look at the ramifications of diabetes, which are absolutely huge on our nation. And if you look at other plants, when you extract vitamin C from oranges, it takes 10 pounds of oranges to make you 500 milligrams of vitamin C. So you use 10 pounds a day to meet a vitamin C dose, and you use 1/10 of a pound of cannabis. That's a factor of 100. So while there may not be a lot, and it seems like, oh my gosh, he wants 30 pounds of cannabis, to prevent diabetes, I think it's reasonable. And so yes, it falls within medical use if that's if you've got a proclivity towards diabetes. I think it's something that is worth pursuing.
To our educational panel. And I would suggest that perhaps either Carol Serralo or Jill might take a whack at this one. Have you tried to work with growers for funding of education? Well, go shake your head by the microphone. Come on.
The answer is no, but I like what Karen said. I've thought the same thing. If there was a way there may be growers out there that would like to support programs for kids, but we don't know who the growers are. Or how would we, even if we know kids from growing families, how would you approach in forums like this? Okay, well, again, I work for the county, so I don't know how to go about doing it. That's not to say that because I work for the county, I don't know things, but but I think it's a great idea because I think there are many. In fact, I read an article about a woman in actually a coalition in Berkeley of growers who did want to pay taxes, and they wanted some of that money indeed to go to treatment programs. And I thought that'd be great if we could organize something like that here. It would be great, or to the schools, the treatment programs. Yeah, I would say if there's a way to do it, I think that's a great idea. So.
Well, I think that is sort of falls in the solution-based discussion, which we're not really about here today, but I would be willing to guess that any one of these individuals up here would like to have a piece of the income stream. No? I'm wrong. To District Attorney Lintott, what is your written policy, or what is your policy regarding the investigation of marijuana cases that your deputies are to follow?
Okay. Actually, like I've mentioned before, we don't do the actual investigation. That would be the law enforcement agency in the particular jurisdiction. We spent a lot of time, I got together with some of the deputies that do this work, trying to rewrite a new policy. And as you've heard, the law has kept changing. So we started working on it before Measure B, and then we sort of had something going, and then we had the People versus Kelly. So what I ended up doing is I just left in the same policy that has been in our books forever, which is we look at each case individually. We look at whether or not it's medical, if they've got a good medical defense, because if they really do, then we're not going to file the case in the first place. But typically, I don't get any of those cases because they're already weeded out before the cases come to my office. And then the types, then you have to look at the case and look at all the factors that impact whether or not it's a case that should be filed. So the types of factors, and that's what I had written in the policy at one point. I made a list of them, but again, I went back to just a real basic policy. See if it's medical. If it's not medical, then you've got a case. But basically, we are looking at sales cases. We're looking at large commercial cases. That's what our focus is on in the office. But I think, as you've heard from Tom, we're not going to give you any numbers. And when Tom and I, have talked with county council at trying to work out something, we really can't at this point. So you look at each case on its merit, and you're going to take, obviously, a case that is huge in number or huge in sales, or you've got people, let's say you've got someone that has a beautiful home and a beautiful SUV and has no job and has never filed taxes. That's sort of a big flashing light telling you that the only way you could have that lifestyle, unless you're a trust fund baby, is if you're in the sales of marijuana, and that's something we're against.
Do you have any